Hi. Ladies and gentlemen, dear fellow friends around the world, I am in TKP Conference Center, Ichigaya, Tokyo, Japan, to enjoy the first round of the World of Throat Championship. The game I'm talking about is, as you can see on the screen, A-SATANI from Japan versus Alex Ko from Singapore. Both are very good players. I have had several occasions to play against Alex Ko over Othello Quest, an application, and I think he beat me 5 games in a row. He has improved dramatically in the past few years. And Satani has always been one of the best players in Japan. This is his second play in an international tournament. First was in 2014, the second World Cup in Singapore. The World Championships will be held for 3 days. Preliminary rounds will be 11 games during the first 2 days, and the top 4 players will advance to the semi-final on the third day, on Friday. Semi-finals and finals will be best of the 3-game match. You have to win at least 9 games out of 11 to advance to the semi-final. That means you can afford to lose only 3 games in the first 2 days, which is really very difficult against the best players gathered here. We have 74 players, and among them 26 are youth players. This 26 does not include Akihiro Takahashi of Japan. He's only in his 8th grade, but I'm talking about Takahashi Akihiro. He's on the top of the Japanese rating list. If this game were played a few years earlier, I would certainly bet on Satani to win the game. But looking at the impressive progress that Alex has made in the past few years, I really cannot guess which will be winning this game. We can expect a very close, high-level game. I will sometimes show this screen so that the position will be easier to look at for you. But unfortunately, I cannot go forward or go back on this board. I just have to say the commentary by verse. Originally, this tournament, the 43rd World Championship, was scheduled to take place in Hong Kong, but because of the political situation there, it was relocated to Tokyo 3 weeks ago. It's quite amazing that so many players are now in Tokyo with such short notice. Satani has recently published a book on Othello strategy. The book is revolutionary because before his book, all the books, well, more than 10 Othello books have been published in Japan. All of them were for beginners because the publishers believed that books for advanced players will not sell enough to make profit. Apparently, My Navi publication, the publisher of Satani's book, had deemed otherwise. And I think his book is selling quite well. Takahashi Akihiro's book will come out soon too. That will also be for advanced players, high-level strategy book. I'm happy with this trend of publishing in Japan. Well, some of you might wonder if these books will be available in English one day. I sincerely hope so, but I'm not sure. I don't know at all about it. Only the earliest Othello books written by Goro Hasegawa, the creator of Othello, were published in English. I think they are out of print now. By the way, one of my friends in France asked me to translate a page from Satani's book. He said, well, he tried to translate it by Google Translator, and it didn't go well. So he asked me to do it. I looked at the page, and it was very difficult for me to translate. I gave up because Satani has created many new concepts, many new terms for tactical positions, and it would need me to read the whole book slowly to understand what he is telling us. So it's a very tough book to understand. I forgot to tell you who I am. I am Takeshi Murakami, one of the former world champions. Oh, the game started. This is one of the popular opening lines. Oh, I'm sorry, the direction of the board on the live camera and the live Othello is different. Oh, interesting move. This move 9 is trying to... Oh. Interesting. Well... Well, it seems Alex's new plan was refuted by Satani. Well, they have 30 minutes to think, but they have just finished the first third of the game, the first 20 moves, in the first 1 or 2 minutes. No, in just 1 minute. Maybe this is the line that both of them have prepared. I don't know. The position looks quite even. How can they make decisions so fast in a position so complicated? Beats me. Well, Alex might be thinking about h3, followed by g3. But if black goes to h3 now, white will go to h5, which will deny black's access to g3. So I think Alex is now thinking about h5 or g3 or d7. One thing Alex must have in mind is that when white moves to d7, black should have access to f7. So maybe Alex is thinking about a6. a6 breaks white's wall, but it gives access to f7 when white moves to d7. If it's white's turn, white will surely move to d7. So black must do something. And if black goes to a6 or d7, that means there will be a black disk on the fourth row, which will be a good thing for white when white goes to h5. You notice probably that if white goes to h5 now, black will just take h4 and the fourth row will not turn into black disks, leaving black some nice moves to h3 and later to g3. But of course, if there were some black disks on the fourth row, white's a5 would be a nice move, because black's h4 response will flip disks on the fourth row to the left. Black has just gone to a6. That was one of the good moves. Now white's d7 will be countered by black's f7, and white's d2 will be countered by black's e2. Satani hasn't used 2 minutes yet. I guess many of you know about Othello Quest, a very good online game playing site for Othello players. And the time allowed for each player is either 1 minute or 5 minutes. I mean 1 minute for the whole 30 moves for one player. So you have to make very quick decisions. You have to move instantly. If you practice on Othello Quest, like I do, and probably like A-SATANI does, it often happens that you play just too quickly. You have to be careful, very careful, and you have to think for a long time to check if anything goes wrong. Sometimes one mistake, one careless mistake can decide the turn of the game. Okay. Now, if black takes the edge by going to a4, white will go to a3, and if black goes to a2, it's white's turn, but black won't have any moves, extra moves on the left edge. The left edge will be all filled. Also, black's moves on a4 and a2 would poison black's move to d7. Poison means when black goes to d7 now, it flips only vertically, d4, d5, and d6. But if there is a black disk on a4, black's move to d7 will also flip diagonally. White disks on b5 and c6. That's something black player does not want, and we call it poisoning. It turns the otherwise good move to d7 to a very bad move, flipping disks into all the directions. As you must have already learned in Othello, to flip as few disks as possible. This is the basic strategy. So now black's move to a3, for example, a3, or black's move to b6, or black's move to h4. These moves will flip too many white disks and decreases black's options dramatically, leaving black in an almost helpless position. Now white will probably go to h3, but if white goes to h3, of course black will have moves to h4. This is hard to evaluate. A-SATANI is thinking about h3, white h3, black d7, white c7, and black b6. It's very hard to visualize the position, this future position in our head. But it looks a good position for black. And this difficulty to visualize future positions in our head makes Othello so difficult for humans, while it poses no problem at all for AI players. As you may know, it is already impossible to win in Othello against computers, AI players, because Othello is just too difficult for humans. Humans will always make mistakes, while the computers in the latter half of the game will never make any mistakes. Okay, 26 f2. Satani deemed better to leave white's h3 for future use. But this 26 gave a nice move, black's nice move to g3. I think Alex will move to g3 now. The merit of g3 is that it poisons. You already know the concept of poisoning. It poisons white's h3. Imagine the future position. White, right now, white's move to h3 only flips g4. But when black goes to g3 and then white goes to h3, white will flip all the black disks on the third row from c3 to g3. This will flip too many disks and it's a bad move. That means black's move to g3 now will have poisoned white's move to h3. It seems to me that Satani is thinking about the measure he can take after black's g3. Well, f6 on the camera screen. And Alex is surely checking. If black's move to g3 really works. Oh, well, I didn't expect this move. This 27 gives white an obvious response to g3. g3 is a good move because g3 is also a good place to go for black. Moving to the good point for the opponent is always a good option to consider. White will go to either g3 or h3. Satani is thinking which is better. Well, I prefer g3. Yes, he went there. This exchange of black e2 and white g3 has given a small advantage to Satani, I think. Now Alex can go to h2, but that will give him a bad position on the right edge. Well, I cannot tell you why it's a bad move, but oh, c1. Well, the obvious response for white is h4. Satani is surely considering h4 now. But there is a drawback for h4. Can you see? A white disk on h4 will poison white's move to d8. I'm talking about the future d8 for white. For example, black can try d7, white h7. That will give a position. Well, at that moment, white will not have any disks on the D column, but well, forget about the right edge, and we can just suppose that it's black's turn. Black d7, white c7, black b6, and then white f1 to have a white disk on the D column, I mean d3. And later white can try d8. This kind of line is plausible in this position, but if there is a white disk on h4, this otherwise good choice for white of d8 would also flip diagonally, namely the black disks e7, f6, and g4. No, g5. These will be flipped. That's what I meant by the phrase white's move to h4 will poison. Oh, well, he has just played it. So black shouldn't take h3. this h4 disk that white has just played is not a good thing for white. Black should not flip it. So maybe now black can try the sequence d7, white c7, and black b6. That will not leave any good moves for white. I know it's very hard to visualize, but that's the way good players of Othello are thinking. And very good players look forward even further. For example, in this position, black d7, white c7, black b6, white f1, black e1, white d1, black g1, and then white b2. Undoubtedly, this is the line both players are thinking about right now. f1 would be a good option for black. I think Alex is considering it. f1, and if white goes to g2, then black d7. But of course, some of you do not see just why white will go to g2 after black f1 here. Well, after black's f1, the northeast corner is 5 empty squares. So if white goes there first, for example by g2, and later black takes the corner to h1, right, if white goes g2 now, and black takes the corner h1 later, and white wedges at g1, then it will leave h2 and h3 empty. And either of these black goes, white will just goes to the last empty square to h2 or h3. This is a good thing for white, because white will have two wedges, one to g1 and the other to either h2 or h3. Well, so Satani is undoubtedly considering this g2 move. But then Alex will go to d7. So let's try to visualize the future position in our head. White g2, black d7, white c7, and now black has two options, h1 or b6. Can you see? White g2, black d7, white c7, and then black h1. What happens if white then wedges at g1? Yes, black will have a swindle. That means black will go to h2 without flipping the diagonal lines, and the empty square to h3 will be accessible only to black. That's a catastrophe. That's a catastrophe for white. So after black h1, white cannot wedge at g1 immediately. White will have to go somewhere else. Okay, let's think about it again. Oh, f7. Obviously, A-SATANI deemed dangerous the move to g2, and he came up with another option, f7. I didn't think about it. f7. Well, the merit of this move is if black goes to e8 or f8, both of them are apparent good options for black. And then white goes to g2, and black goes to d7, and white goes to c7. Oh, It seems to me that Alex has succeeded in making the position very complicated for white. Like I said, white has a good move to g2, but of course it gives black a corner to h1, which will never be flipped for the rest of the game. So g2 for white is risky. Oh, white took the right edge. Black can try h2 now, but that will give white g7. Can you visualize the position? Black h2, white g7, and if black takes the corner to h8, white will wedge at h3. In that case, white will get h1, and from g1 the whole north edge, which will be very good for white. So black will not want it happen. And the problem for black is that white's d8 is a very good move. So black has to think about it. Normally, if white goes to d8 in this position, normally black will respond with e8. But black's move to e8 would flip both e7 and f7, which is a bad thing for black. Black wanted to go to e8 before white went to d8. Do you see? After white d8, the black move to e8, 35, would flip both e8 and f8. But now black's move to e8, move 35, only flips one disk, f7. There are a few nice moves for white. A-SATANI is considering them. The options, good options are c7 and g2 and probably perhaps even g7. g7 is not so outrageous because if black takes h8, white will go to g2. Which are the best? Which is the best? A-SATANI is thinking. Is it c7 or g2? The drawback of c7 is that after c7 and black b6, white will no longer have access to g2. Can you see? White c7, black b6, and black b6 flips c6, white's disk on c6. So white will no longer have access, the right to move to g2. This could be a very bad thing for white. So A-SATANI is thinking if c7 is really a good idea. Normally c7 is a fantastic move, flipping only the inside disks, surrounded disks. Maybe he will go to g2 while it is possible, because right now g2 is available. After the exchange of c7 and b6, G2 will no longer be available for white. But if white goes to G2 now, black will go to B6. Can you see? White G2, black B6, and the lower half of the board will be all black, and wherever Satani goes, it will flip into many directions, giving black a few extra moves. So it will give Satani a hard decision. Again, this is a really hard position. Oh, okay. Now what? Usually white will go to C8. Because black's move to D8 will flip not only D7 but also C7, giving white a future move to B8. Can you visualize? White C8, black D8, white F8, for example, taking the southern edge, and white will have a move to B8. But in this case, white's B8 will be countered by black B7. What to do for Satani? Let's think about an obvious sequence. White C8, black D8, white F8, black G7, white B8, black B7. Now what? White will have to go to the top half of the board, where he won't have any very good moves. Very difficult position to evaluate. White could try A7 or A7 after the exchange of white A8 and black D8. Oh. Very nice move. White's move to D8, 38, has just flipped black's disc on F6. That means white can later try B2. B2 will control the diagonal. That means all the disks on the diagonal from H1 to H8 will be white. So black won't have immediate access to A1. And if black tries the same thing to G7, the diagonal can be cut quite easily by a move to either D1 or E1. Well, I think Alex will go to F8. One obvious line is black F8, white C8, black G7. That looks good for black. Oh. Well, but then white will have A7. Do you see what I'm talking about? Black goes to F8 now. White goes to C8. Black goes to G7. And white goes to A7. And black will be obliged to go to A3. Oh yeah, just like I predicted. Now, I think G7 is the only good move left. G7. Surely Alex will go to G7. G7 and white A7. And what will happen? Yeah, Alex has went to G7. Has gone to G7. Now. A-SATANI must be thinking about A7 and the possible sequences after white's A7. A7, black A3, white H8, black G8, and what? That may be a losing position for white. Let's think about it together. White A7, black A3, white H8, black G8, and white has no good move. The black line, the diagonal line, from c6 to f3 is very bad for white, very good for black. If only there is one white disk on this line. The problem with the line I have just told you, let's check it again. White a7, black a3, white h8, black g8. Now white's turn, and white cannot go to g2, so white will, for example, try d1, but then black will go to e1, and white's access to g2 has disappeared. Do you see? Because f3 will be white, and the second row will be all black. Can you see that white won't have access to g2 even after the exchange of d1 and e1? That's a bad thing for A-SATANI. Oh, but he took the edge anyway. I see. So here black a3 and white a2, I think. Black a3 and white a2, that's what A-SATANI is thinking about. Look at it. White a3, no, black a3, then white a2, which will flip d5 disk to white. So white has a move to both b7 and g2, which will certainly give white a parity win. What is a parity win? It is hard to explain, only by words. I need another board to demonstrate. Okay, so Alex deemed it losing and made another move. Oh, but A-SATANI went to a2 anyway, just to flip a5 disk. But isn't it giving too much? It sometimes happens that white gives too many stable disks to black to hang on to parity, and he loses. Oh, very good move. Alex goes b7 was a very good try. Now it seems black has the parity. Parity means the right to play to the last square of empty regions. for example, B2, no, for example, A3 is black's parity. Only black can go there. And B1 is white's parity region. Only white can go there. Both players are trying hard to gain parity. The last move in the empty regions. Alex cannot just go to D1, because if black goes to G1, white will go to G2. Oh, is it okay? Really? Now A-SATANI has the parity, it seems. White will get the last move in every region. Okay, okay. Only 46 seconds for Alex. Now white will go to H8. H8, black G8, white H3, black A3, white B1 will be the obvious line. How many discs will A-SATANI have in this line? 24, 28、31、31。Obviously white is winning. I think Alex goes D1 was a very bad move, but he didn't have much time left to consider other options. Yes, A-SATANI has won. Only 5 seconds left for Alex. Very close and tough and interesting game. I'm quite sure Alex had some better options in the end game. Well, bravo. And thank you, Alex and A-SATANI, for the nice game.